Test, test. Hello there. YouTube is my most beloved subscribers, frequent viewers, and patrons. It's the 10th of September, year 2025. Both at Australian Eastern Standard Time / Sydney time and local Beijing time. So, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the program. So, as promised during this live stream, I would like to talk about my thoughts on the conventional 9 to 5 grind / an ordinary 9 to 5 job, or 9 to 5 jobs in 9 to 5 jobs in ordinary sense. I beg your pardon. So as you can see, yes, I am currently live streaming evening, and I beg your pardon for the poor ambient light condition. I hope this camera can still do its job. Nevertheless, overall speaking, my take on the conventional 9 to 5 grind is that I ordinarily reject the idea, the notion, and the act of having to participate in it. Though I do not oppose the the very basic idea of we all more or less need to work. We can't stay stagnant. Otherwise, our mind, our flesh will begin to rot. So we have to make sure that we keep our organs, our flesh, our mind and spirit on the move and sharp by working moderately. And unfortunately, the system, the matrix, never ceases to abuse, the notion of work and money, and of course the monetary systems, and and it seeks, to change, the original meanings, the original way to all those meanings and wordings, they constantly change them in order to indoctrinate the vast majority of people. Say for example, in fact, there is no fundamental actually, the word sex and they mean exactly the same, but they throughout the postmodern ages, they pretty much mixed up the two, saying that the latter can mean the way of expressing your sexuality, your way your way lasting after your partners, your bed, your your mating partners, and blah blah blah. In truth, they mean exactly the same. And on the other hand, I don't know if you guys have thought about the very fundamental notions, meanings of time and dates. In fact, they the calendars multiple times. Currently and allegedly speaking, we have implemented the Gregorian calendar in something like much the global calendars. Yes, well, as far as I know, and if my memory, they changed the global calendar from something that was originally placed to the Gregorian ones. And if you look up, well, or if you spend some time to rewatch or watch the Matrix trilogy films, you will know that Morpheus once asked Neo. He once asked, in the first series of the whole trilogy. More importantly, it is more important to ask what this is, to ask when or what time it is. If my memory still serves, he once said, "You believe it is the time is 1999, but in fact we are getting closer to 2199." We can't tell you the exact date, since honestly we don't know ourselves. So yeah, I don't know if you guys watch closely and thought about what Morpheus said to Neo in the Matrix trilogy. Well, I beg your pardon. Yes, now let's take some time to reply to your messages. You brighten my day with your uploads. A YouTube notification from you makes me happy. Thank you very much for your heartwarming message and your kind compliments. Yeah, it's well, though I am not so used to and validation, since somehow regardless of how small my channel still remains at the present time, I've somehow amassed a bunch of haters and trolls as well, unfortunately. Your videos are new insights I needed. Yes. Well, thank you for again. Thank you very much for your compliments and heartwarming messages. But certainly, there are a lot more dudes, who offer, and broadcast better and more in-depth insights than on YouTube, on BitChute, on Rumble, even on the goddamned platform, Twat platform, Patreon, blah blah blah. Should we monetize scholarly materials? Good question. Maybe for certain, I guess for certain, for certain academic materials, say, say, well, they, say they created as a result of, as a result of a prolonged period of research, hard work, and involving lots of privileged insights and personnel. Then in that case, I suppose they have the right to charge some money, some fees. But for those for those that 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 contain or feature say common knowledge, then I believe it's pretty unethical to charge a fee for materials, say, or books, or or say lecture slides or lecture notes, or books, say, namely textbooks and blah blah blah. I refuse to work anymore. I haven't worked in more than 7 months now. Well, congratulations in that case. Thank you for your non in the matrix. You have done your part to attempt to stop the indeed, yeah, self and your community, yeah, on the same page. Only work for your nation familial and your net region. Yeah, more or less. I don't like people in my region, so that makes harder. I totally understand. I beg your pardon. I only seem to enjoy eating and exercises now. On the same page, yeah. Well, still, I don't, in particular, enjoy eating that much. I only consume food when I do. I'm a dice. I don't know what that word means. Dice. Dynamic sub 5. Sub 5. So fitness. Yes, I don't go to the gym. I do cardio outside and body weight exercises. The gym is a hell zone. I try to get sunlight when I can make it. When I can make it. When I can make it. When I can. I try to get sunlight when I can. It makes me feel better for a short time. Yes, sunlight plays sunlight certainly plays a vital role in regulating some of your most crucial hormones within your body and your mind and brain. Yeah, but unfortunately, in my current region, there are not many opportunities for me to get in terms and um, um, that much of intense or and adequate exposure to sunlight, to UV. Yeah, and back to the very main theme, very main topics for this live stream. Yes, more about the conventional nine to five grind. Why I would like to reiterate my stance on the conventional five grind. Unless you are in dire or in a terrible need of avoiding starvation, then I wouldn't recommend that you involve yourselves in the conventional grind, so to speak, since effectively you are trading your health, both your mental and your physical health, for solely money. And and more importantly, financial wise and business wise, it is a lost cause. It is a bad deal. You effectively say you gain a lot less than you actually lose. You only say you only gain for money. You only gain in money, but you will lose in happiness and health. Well, at least overall speaking, most, if not all, of those corporate drones, they are not happy with what they do. They are not happy with the people they have to work with and meet with on a day-to-day um, you know um, on a day-to-day frequency, or and on the other hand, they have to deal with the office, the red tapes, the office, you know politics, and those annoying red tapes, regulations, and the so-called corporate or enterprise culture they have to adapt to in order to earn and secure a place within the organization. I can't say much, for those that have already earned a high level of authority and reputation within, say, a state-owned enterprise, or a department, within a government or a regime. Since I've never dealt with or had any contact with someone like that. I will not participate in. That's, yeah. I know that Mandarin Chinese character. Yes, Neizhuan. Yeah, I know that it means to compete to endless people. Yeah, that's that's a fairly new term and buzzword throughout the Mandarin speaking internet. Yeah, but such phenomenon I believe it not they those sort of thing do not exclusively occur in, say, in China or throughout East Asia. No, it has its roots in America, in Great, even even in Great, in the UK, in Great, beg your pardon. Exactly, that is what true corporate cooperation is, kind of like Wang Jingwei. Not sure who that is, but they are, yes. Wang is a rather common family name throughout the Mandarin, throughout the Greater China region. That can include mainland Singapore and Hong Kong, and blah blah blah. So I don't really know who Wang Jingwei is, but I do know, yes, I do know Wang Jianling. He's a he's he's a giant, titan, in real estate, um, real estate vending and constructions and agencies, that sort of thing, throughout China, throughout Malaysia, but not exactly Singapore. I don't really know much, about his involvement or investment in Singapore. I want to win the lottery. Nah, don't even think about it. But you can, learn how to invest, in, say, in antiques, in silver coins. That I highly recommend. Yes, it appears that sooner or later I will have to make some changes, slight, not exactly big, but slight changes to my plan, to travel to Hong Kong and attend a numismatic event. It appears they have an alternative. Well, apparently hosted hosted by pretty much the same group of organization and folks, but that they scheduled such event to to take place in early to mid October. And for those who would like to to meet up there, I will either you know buy you a lunch or a dinner, if you like, and have some face to face chinwags, blah blah blah. Singapore is cooked, so hyper competitive and capitalistic. Well, unless you have a huge sum of money, and you and promising loads of investments, yes, then the vast, I suppose, for the vast majority of Singaporeans, yeah, which I suppose more or less including me are cooked. Yeah, but it is the bright side, the silver lining of Singapore is that you can get pretty much an endless and limitless selection of great food, not just healthy and great in taste, but also highly cost effective. You mustn't miss whenever you have a chance to pay Singapore a visit. And speaking about money, well, should you have gained a bit of prior experience in studying or collecting antiques, namely those form of currencies circulated, namely over the past century, you should be able to know that nowadays money nowadays money nowadays money I beg your pardon. Nowadays money are two things from are not the same as what they use as a form of currency in the past century. Back then, money had real value, and pretty much their intrinsic value equated to their face value. Throughout throughout their period of general circulation. And also back then, all the governments, all the ruling classes, well, no matter how evil or how exploiting or wicked they were, they still dared not to to scan their people that much like the present. Since as you can see, during the present time, they replaced the real money with intrinsic value, you know consist and corresponding with their face value with pretty much with plastics, pretty much worthless plastics, and numbers on on a screen, on either a computer screen or a smartphone screen. And that says they can do whatever they see fit with the so-called money they issued to their faithful subjects. Well, hi there, Lennon. I almost mistook your alias for Lemon. I beg your pardon. welcome back to the live stream and welcome back to the channel. Yeah, I suppose I am doing marginally um, marginally better than than the past several days, I assume. But yeah, I do not suppose I sound that posh yet. I still have a lot to experiment and to practice and experiment with when it comes to speaking like like an authentic posh Brit. But yeah, I do. Yes, I do believe. However, I managed to have mastered some fundamentals, some basic um, you know tricks as to how to sound at least somewhat posh, somewhat um, British posh, namely the London the standard London accent. And I heard that Essex accent, also kind of resembles, you know, the RP, the posh one, to a fairly noticeable extent, if I am not mistaken. Are you perfect in Mandarin? No, I'm not that perfect in Mandarin. I generally stutter a lot more when I speak Mandarin, but I can still, I suppose, more or less effectively communicate in Mandarin Chinese, as much as I converse with, um, you know, um, um, Japanese. I beg your pardon. Yeah, sooner or later I will cut my hair. Don't you worry. But just so you know, as men, it is a privilege to have some hairs. How you still can. You will never know for certain when you may turn bald. You know, since we men do suffer from significantly higher chance of going bald than women in general. Just so you know, it is a privilege to have some long hairs as men. Um, but on the other hand, it is completely my you know my you know my my business, whether I should keep a long hair or not. So please mind your business. Don't tell what others they ought to do. We are all adults. Just as I won't, tell you or instruct you what exactly to do with your life. You should have, you should at least, learn to have a bit of, common sense and empathy. Not necessarily sympathy when it comes to how everyone else should live their lives. But long story short, when it comes to hairs or how a person dresses or what sort of food he or she eats, it is a personal thing. It is a completely personal thing, you know. So long story short, mind your own goddamn business. You know, in response to your message, you know, concerning my hair or anybody else's hairstyles or blah blah blah. I don't know what I have utterly no idea what you are saying here. Are you above a chippy right now, geezer? I don't know what you mean there. Thing I did was get out of a 9 to 5. Bow, I earn 2K every 2 weeks, around 2K, sometimes more, sometimes less. And I work 3 days a week. That sounds rather healthy and enjoyable. Yes, I suppose you know the an ideal scenario when it comes to work. One should just work around 2 to 3 days per week, and it seems to me that you have pretty much reached a level of harmony, an ideal harmony with nature's and your bodily rhythm when it comes to work and rest. You have main protagonist here. Lucky you. No, I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't call it a main protagonist here. I just, well, long story short, yes, I just like to use my hair, to use my long hair, to uncover, to uncover, or to compensate, for some of my fleshly blemishes. That's the whole fundamental, the main reason why I keep a long hair. And I certainly hope that I will never ever go bald. But I will do my utmost best to not fall victim to baldness. That you guys have my word on that. Yeah, I'm frying up some onions, making some hot dogs. Yeah, go ahead, eat whatever you like, but in the meantime, pay attention to balance in terms of your nutrition, in terms of all the nutrients you ingest um, on a daily basis, unless you would like to suffer from the repercussions afterwards. That's a German word. I'm afraid I have highly limited knowledge in German, so I beg your pardon for my incompetence in in pronouncing the German word type. Yes, well, I suppose I just two words in German, say poltergeist and Scheiße. Yeah, that's the only two words in German I know of. Yeah, poltergeist and Scheiße. Poltergeist and Scheiße. Poltergeist, yeah. Take it easy, brother. I hope pronouncing certain words isn't painful for you. Thank you so much for your reassurance. Yes, I firmly believe I can perfectly pronounce each and every common words in English. It is just my mental condition, my trauma, more often than not, can get the best of me from time to time. But I try not to let them gain the upper hand, and and as I perfectly I understand that it sucks to have your hard-earned circadian rhythm compromised you know on all possible occasions during my life of going MGTOW and boycotting the conventional 9 to 5 grind. As I had some some series of highly I won't say stressful, but highly frightening dreams while I hibernated during broad um, um, during broad daylight. Yes, I saw I saw a dove pretty much transforming into a snake, or a rather um bulky lizard when it you know while it you know took a dump, and that was rather uneasy and kind of frightening to see. And I also heard I also saw and heard my old man in my previous dreams saying that he wanted to commit suicide, so plainly, as which I suppose makes a lot of sense based on my own suspicion pertaining to his premature death about nearly more than 6 years ago. We have our demons. Yeah, thank you for your kind and patience and understanding. But yeah, back to the main theme, back to the main topics I would like to shed some light on. Yeah, so on the other hand, about parenting, about antinatalism, some of you guys might argue against black pill, against the saying that it it brings, life brings you more pain, more loss than pleasure and gains. Since some of you guys might say that you have a loving parent, you have a loving family, you have loving parents, you have highly nourishing, highly nurturing background and environment in which you got raised, in which you grew up. Yes, that in response to that, you just because you have had, just because you had a nurturing, a nourishing and loving, it 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 does not mean that everyone has that and has access to that. Many are brought up in a highly hostile, highly traumatizing and dehumanizing family. And some of them, I should say, loads of them, are brought up by single parents. In most cases, single moms, and in some single dads, and effectively they just pass up their trauma from one generation to another. And I suspect I myself serves as a living example. Though I not to live and behave like a victim. I do not lay all the blames, but instead reflecting upon my own actions and see if there is room or space for improvements, for constant improvements via constant learning and experimenting with new horizons and ideas. We need atavistic. What does atavistic mean? Unfortunately, I have to look that up in the dictionary. Atavistic, relating to or characterized by reversion to something ancient or ancestral. So you mean go retro? Yeah, retro. Yeah, so basically it means a retro style or way of living. Yeah. Yes, more or less, I can sort of agree. Yeah, since like I said, change. They have perverted. So much. So much about what it means. To what it means. In respect to money, to living. To healthy lifestyle. To the very the very definition of work, of life, of money, of assets. They have effectively perverted a lot of words, a lot of the intrinsic values and meanings of all, pretty much all vocabularies throughout all human languages and cultural customs. I can think of. I'm all right if that's what you are asking. Yes, I am all right for the time being. But yes, I'm afraid sooner or later it may change. Only God knows whose more advanced technologies whose more advanced technology is going to get and how far away we are from sci-fi utopia. Electricity is at the core of it. Um, well, what should I say? About God, about the whole system of religions and shit. Yeah, but just so you know, just because you have had uh, a nurturing, a loving, a nourishing, highly nourishing um, experience with your parents, with your families, it does not necessarily mean that parents are always loving and helpful. You know, you haven't experienced, wars with your parents or with your own upbringing because your parents haven't shown their true colors. Since the rightful, the conditions haven't yet occurred at the right time in the right place yet, or I should say, at the wrong time in the wrong place yet. That whether those conditions are right or wrong highly um, highly vary with personal preferences or circumstances, your very own interpretations as to how you like to choose, to interpret what's right or wrong in your case. But know this: whoever refuses to listen to reason, and when it comes down to it, whoever stubbornly stands in your way, just and when it comes down to it, um, and um, and to a circumstance, to a life or death circumstance between your adversaries and you yourself. Just one of you may will, whenever it comes down to a situation or a circumstance, or a circumstance that one of you one of you two will die. Just make sure it is that son of a bitch that stubbornly stands in your. Just make sure it is that son of a that dies, or or alternatively, if you can, if you have managed to have um, ga- gathered a sufficient amount and level of funds and courage to get the hell out of Dodge, out of out of Dodge, then just keep your distance from all those toxicity, all those unreasonable people. which is precisely what I have been working to achieve. But other than that, you know, yeah, to yes to oops to guys to 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 summarize, just you learn to maximize your games in the game, whether or not you choose to participate in the conventional 9 to 5 grind. And in scenarios in which you have to deal with a toxic parent or your toxic parents or your toxic relatives, just learn to stand your ground, learn to guard your own boundaries, so that they can never ever harm you anymore. That's my deviated septum hypertrophy congenital. That's or is that congenital arthritis, jaw deformity, severe facial deformity, and severe blah 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 cannot be technically corrected. Yeah, sort of. All those hereditary deformities poses a serious amount of challenges to even to the best of the best, top-notch medical professionals. I'm afraid that's which adds one more reason why you shouldn't procreate. But even I myself, as a rather hardcore black pillar, can't even 100% guarantee that I will never ever have a child or children in the future. Since even I myself, can't 100% keep my own libido at bay. Though I will do every step, I will take every precaution I can against pregnancies, against STDs. But I can't really, 100% guarantee that I will never ever procreate while, during my lifetime here. Since I'm deep in my heart, I do kind of, have a bit of, want or lust to live a bit of legacy after I kick my own um my own after I kick my own bucket. So just so you know, even I, can't 100% guarantee that. But nevertheless, yeah. Nevertheless, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry that you guys are suffering from all those sort of hereditary illnesses, and I wish I can do something. I could do something to alleviate your sufferings. Since you guys have scratched my back, and for the sake of reciprocity, I should scratch yours in return as a returning favor. But unfortunately, yes. But unfortunately, the best I can do is to schedule a meetup, like I said, in Hong Kong, and as also as a gesture of goodwill, I will buy you guys, or at least one of you guys, a dinner or lunch upon the meetup. And yes, I will see what I can do. You know, you know. On the other hand, I'll see if I can, source some rare coins at the new at that at the numismatic events scheduled to take place in early to mid October 25. But yeah, that will also, more or less that will also more or less vary with how much money, how much funds I can save and amass, during this 1 month period of preparation and planning. But in any regards, I'll see what I can do. But rest assured, I will do everything in my power to get the hell out of Dodge, at least for several days, if not for a whole month, away from this place, away from this dehumanizing and pathetic circumstance. And then unfortunately, I'll have to return here sooner or later afterwards, and then plan further ahead. But in any regards, thank you so much for tuning in, and I sincerely hope that you guys have learned, have at least found this live filming session useful, if not fun or entertaining. And whichever the case, in any event, please consider smashing that like button and consider subscribing to the channel, and have a look at my Buy Me a Coffee page in order to fund this trip in order to fund this trip and numismatic event and meetup in Hong Kong. So in any event, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my voices. And see you guys next time on YouTube and in person in Great Britain, in Japan, in Europe, if God's still willing. Yeah. But in any event, stay out of trouble and stay far from weak. Until next time, if God's still willing. Cheers. Take care. Stay out of trouble. Stay far from weak. And yeah, bye. Thank you for tuning in.